Hi everyone, and welcome to Movie Fight Club, where we duke it out about whether our film of the week is any good or not. I'm Matthew, and I love My Fair Lady.
I am Mandi, and I think My Fair Lady is an objectively terrible movie.
Objectively.
Yes.
Okay. You have points. You have tallied up this film.
Okay, I'm going to take it a little bit differently than what I've been doing, but why don't you tell folks what it's about first?
Okay. My Fair Lady is a 1964 film. It was based on the musical of the same name, which was in turn based on the story Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw. My Fair Lady stars Rex Harrison as Henry Higgins, who takes on Eliza Doolittle, played by Audrey Hepburn, to teach her proper elocution and manners.
Okay.
How do you do?
How do you do?
How do you do?
Cup of tea.
Nah.
Ay.
How do you do?
Okay,
How
so
kind of you. That could be the episode, frankly. That's the thing. Just that impact on the world that you can walk around going, how kind of you to let me come here.
the rain in Spain stays plainly on. Oh shoot! I even got it wrong.
Nice.
I got it wrong. It stays plainly on the
Spain.
All right. So I am going to be upfront about this movie. I do like this movie.
Like.
I enjoy this movie. How about that?
Okay.
But I do think it's a bad movie. Like,
Okay.
This isn't like B movie. Like, it's a terrible movie that you just, like, it's a guilty pleasure. It's not that. Like, it's nostalgic for me. I sing the songs. I walk around singing these songs all the time. Okay, not all of the songs, but some of the songs.
I'm sure that's not true. I'm sure some of these songs no one has ever sung out loud.
Not all of the songs. We're going to talk about that too. But, like, this is a bad movie for several reasons. Not the least of which is Audrey Hepburn's voice. I mean,
Harsh.
Come on.
Harsh. What about the sisterhood?
No, I can't. It's grating. It's hard to listen to in the first half of the movie. Before we get to The Rain in Spain, Stays Mainly on the Plane, the song.
Okay.
Like, listening to her is like fingernails on a chalkboard. Like 100% fingernails on a chalkboard. And she acts like a toddler a lot of the time. She cannot speak without screaming. It's very hard on the ears. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. I mean, I think it's meant to be.
Well, it is, but whenever they ask you to listen to it for an hour, it's a little much. That's all I'm saying.
I will not hear anything about the length of this film. This film is perfect. And it has its length for so many valid reasons. And we cannot have any of that. We'll come back to that later. I would throw out, if you're saying Audrey Hepburn's voice and what she puts on, because obviously she's being, Sounder Bobel's Cockney Londoner, working class type, as we heard in Snatch, some of that sort of accent. I mean, Audrey Hepburn's not British.
No.
Is the first thing. She's intercontinental. She grew up, I think, in Europe and then moved to America and learned accents and generally acted as an American in most things. Mm-hmm. I think. Not having seen enough of her stuff. But this role was originated by Julie Andrews on stage. Mm-hmm. Who you could be sure did a very good job with it. I mean, there are times in this you could see it's almost written for Julie Andrews, how good it is. Julie Andrews was not cast in this film.
No, she wasn't.
Jack Warner, one of the Warner brothers, did not think that she had enough star quality, would not be good enough in a movie because she was not a cinematic star at this stage. So he turned her down, and said we need someone with name recognition. As has happened even these days. Mm-hmm. It's all about people would rather see a person they know than a person they don't know. And that meant that Walt Disney went to her and said, hey, we'd love you to be in this film we're putting together about Mary Poppins. And she said, I'd love to, but I'm pregnant. And he said, well, that's fine, we'll wait. So they waited, and they made Mary Poppins, for which she won an Oscar. And Audrey Hepburn did not. So this film is great because we got Mary Poppins with Julie Andrews, one of the greatest performances there has ever been, at a point in this film.
Okay, I'm going to have to concede that point to you. Absolutely.
because they were stupid enough not to cast Julie Andrews in a role that's really good for Julie Andrews.
Right.
Makes it a better film.
All right, I cannot dispute that one. I have to give that one to you because Mary Poppins is one of my all-time favorite Disney movies. So
right,
yeah, I have to give you that one. But I mean, not only was her voice just so grating in this movie, they didn't even use her singing voice. It
definitely has the sound of musicals of this era, doesn't it? Interesting. I mean, they did use her singing voice when she's supposed to be singing badly. Which is not the compliment I think they wanted to be.
Right, exactly.
Whose voice did they use?
I don't remember her name. I just know that it wasn't her, and it was somebody who did a lot of other dubbing for movies at this time.
Yes, they used Marnie Nixon, who also did voices for singing in The King and I and West Side Story and various others. So yes, it does have a sound of 50s and 60s musicals. Very
much so. Very much so. You know, you said you didn't want to talk about the length of this movie, but I think we have to for my next point.
Oh, I will talk about the length of this movie and why it's perfect and why the length of this movie is absolutely spot on right. And I will completely defend it as being fair.
My Fair Lady is fair? Is that what you just said?
My Fair Lady's length is fair.
All right. Do you want to tell me why first, or do you want me to tell you why it's too long?
It feels fair and looks foul. We can even get Tolkien into this. Oh, should that be the movie Fight Club thing? Get Tolkien into everything. The length of this film, 170 minutes.
Too long.
Brilliant.
Why?
You cannot get enough of this film, so it needs to be longer. You need to have more of it in.
I see.
I think it makes time for characters like the father, which says, we talk about representation and other things. We talk about how, it's wonderful to see yourself on screen and say, if you can see it, you can be it. The Gina Davis line. It says that no matter how stupid your story is or how pointless it is, you could be in a Hollywood musical. They could feature your story, even if it's rubbish. And that's inspiring to millions around the world, I'm sure. So I think it is doing good work in bringing that fantasy to people who might be watching it and going, I can now see myself on screen. How wonderful. I can see myself on screen for probably like a quarter of its running time. Brilliant. See how much time they're giving to the father.
All right, well, here's where I'm just going to be utterly selfish.
Right.
Can I just be selfish then? Because I am not one of those people who was inspired. And I fast-forwarded through the father songs.
Oh.
They're terrible. They're boring. They don't add to the story. And I just wanted to get back to the pretty dresses that Audrey Hepburn was wearing.
They add to the father story.
I don't care.
And Get Me to the Church on Time is one of the most famous songs in this musical.
It is. And I fast forward through it every time. Every time.
Right. Okay.
I also fast forward through Freddie's bits every time. So
who honestly, also has one of the most famous songs from this musical. But
I don't care. I don't care. I watched this movie for Audrey Hepburn. I hate her voice in the beginning. I love her dresses. I love her voice at the end. And she is why I watch this movie. I sing her songs all the time. I sing Wouldn't It Be Loverly all the time. Like, I just walk around my house singing that song.
Right.
In my own bad singing voice. And I sing The Rain in Spain Stays Mainly on the Plane all the time. I sing Just You Wait, Henry Higgins, Just You Wait. All the time.
In Audrey Hepburn's voice.
And I skip Freddie's songs. I skip the father's songs. Aww. They don't need to be in this movie. I don't care about them in this movie. I don't watch this movie for those stories.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so knowing other films that you love and seeing how Freddie hangs outside her house watching her and seeing what happens, I thought you had a thing for people who were weird stalkery about the people they fell in love with. I thought this was Twilight all over again.
Well, I like it when Edward does it, but Edward is way more interesting than Freddie.
He draws her in her bedroom while she's sleeping. That's so much sexier.
I mean, that's what Angelus
He does,
did.
doesn't he? That was Angelus, wasn't it? I'm now mixing vampires in my head. Which, you know, Angelus and Edward are...
Still more interesting than Freddie.
That's fair.
So, yeah.
You say you watched this for Audrey Hepburn. I think that might be why you think this is a bad film. So, when we talk about this film in its, you know, its big overarching plot, not the small stories, things like The Father, the big stories. This is a film about people finding their place, finding acceptance, and finding that we have, I can't remember his name now. Henry Higgins. You've just said it. Professor Henry Higgins, who finds a project, finds someone to share a project with, and in doing so finds love and a place that he wants to be and a place that he wants to stay. And I think it is beautiful when it represents his relationship with Colonel Pickering as they work on Eliza Doolittle together. I think this is not Eliza Doolittle's story, and if you're watching it as such, you might as well be watching for the housekeeper.
You know, that's not a bad take.
It's the only take. It's the only take. The film makes a whole point. It gives her songs about how she's sidelined and doesn't get enough attention for doing what they do. But when you then watch it for the professor and the colonel, who at the point of their great success go off to bed together and he has to come back for his slippers, but they form a bonding relationship here in their house where everyone is very accepting of them and prepared to keep secrets.
Okay, but then why then, if this movie is really about Henry Higgins and Colonel Pickering, why are all of the good songs Eliza's?
Because they could get Money Nixon and she sings really well. We'll come back to Rex. Do we, no, in fact, do we want to come back? Do we want to talk about Rex Harrison singing?
I mean, he can't sing. He can kind of yell.
And it's good because it sets a bar so low for people starring in these films. It leads to generations going, I can do that. I can go and do what was done on screen. Despite my voice and my accent, if I'm putting myself in place of someone, Russell Crowe, could be in one of the greatest musicals of all time as one of the main characters with some of the best songs ever written. Russell Crowe, could deliver them.
Oh my God, you win. 100% you win. I cannot top that because you are so right. Oh my God. So I have been walking around all week just going, damn, 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 damn. Because it gets stuck in my head.
By George.
That's another reason why I don't like it. Because, I mean, I do, but I don't. Like, it's a bad movie because it gets these little earworms in your head that you don't want. Like, that's not what I want in my head from this movie. But that's what I walk around saying.
Okay. Have you ever watched Family Guy?
No.
Okay. So again, this film begets Mary Poppins in some ways. It begets Russell Crowe singing in some ways. It begets the Stewie Griffin, the baby, because Seth MacFarlane, and he has gone on record saying this, he based the voice of Stewie on Rex Harrison in this film.
Really?
And as the film goes on, he actually half-inches whole lines from him. Things like the damn, 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 and by George.
Really?
Are expressions used by Stewie on the reg.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it was really strange watching it, having watched Family Guy before, going, oh, I see it now. Oh, he's not basing it on the voice and then doing a caricature. No, this is the voice. This is the voice of the baby.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
That's interesting. Not sure how I feel about that.
It's hard. The film was made in a certain time and is doing certain stories that are obviously not the way it would be done now. I think if you did My Fair Lady today, you'd probably do a number of things differently with it. Mm-hmm. Probably. You'd hope, maybe. But in this time, a lot of the conversations weren't being done the same. And I like that the film doesn't go to a romance between Henry and Eliza. Yep, thank you. I like that it doesn't go to that place. There was a point I was worried it did, and possibly that's down to the fact Rex Harrison had done it for a number of years at this point, and maybe on stage they did. Maybe when he was younger, it sort of was more palatable. But there are elements of the coding of the characters and the way they come across in some of the situations they're written in where you can absolutely see a relationship developing between the professor and the colonel that you couldn't have presented on screen. That at this time might even have been against the code and have ended up with the film and the story being banned. But I think I would be very interested in that story being more explicit, maybe. But I also think it's there in the reading and in what's displayed on screen.
I can honestly say that's never a reading that I've seen before.
Okay.
But I started watching this movie as a very young girl.
Right.
And so it's always been about Henry and Eliza for me as like the OTP of the movie, even though it's very explicitly non-romantic. It is still a little bit like she specifically says, I'm not asking you to make love to me, but she does have the song, I Could Have Danced All Night, which is specifically about him holding her and touching her and the feelings that she got from those brief moments. And so coming into this as a child and watching that song and that relationship, it never occurred to me to look beyond the two.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's good because, again, in the modern world and the conversations that I had right now, if it had ever gone to that point, we'd be reanalyzing this story and going, ooh, no. He's in a position of power. She's lower class and he's a student. Oh, no. I think the film doesn't warrant that. I think the film gets away with it. Again, I don't know the other versions of it. I don't know Pygmalion, particularly.
I don't either.
I couldn't say. I like it as a, student mentor type relationship. And there is the whole thing that she blows up, that them not giving her enough recognition, because she absolutely does do the thing. And there is an aspect of it that the thing is done because obviously the tuition they give her, the time they give her, everything that we see, as well as her capability. This was in her all along to be able to do this. And she's now getting some of the privilege of upper class snobbery to allow her to access this world and get this tuition and so on, and is making good with it, and absolutely could go on and give further tuition herself at the end, as she says. So I think it works very well as he's given her so much, and she has taken that and developed into something that he can appreciate. I like it. I'm very surprised if it doesn't do anything more than that. Okay.
I do, of course, have a problem with Henry Higgins as a character in the way that he treats Eliza. Okay. I do see the problematic bits of the patriarchy, as you've just talked about, but you kind of danced around it a little bit and kind of excused it. But I like that in addition to portraying Henry and to a degree Colonel Pickering as using Eliza as an object instead of a human, they did give Eliza some agency, particularly when she throws the slippers at him. She stands up for herself. She chooses to leave, and then she chooses to come back at the end.
Yeah. So
they didn't make it romantic, and they worked to find a compromise.
Yes.
And it can be hard to watch. And some of that is why I do think it's a bad movie. But it's a bad movie that I enjoy singing the songs of, so...
Is there some aspect to this as well? Obviously, this is a film that was made almost 60 years ago. About a period of time 60 years before that. What it's portraying is the status quo of both of those times. Of... give me £5 and you can have her.
Right.
She is an object being traded away for money. She is only looked at of her worth for having money for the father and looking after the people around her. Only her worth of being educated and showing off from Henry Higgins. Obviously, I don't know, and I'm going to ask the question, but I know, neither of us know, but is it giving us a fair story of the time? Whether it should or not?
I will say that I don't think this movie was problematic when it was made. Should it have been? Sure, because we should have lived in a time like the world should have been better, but the world wasn't.
No.
We're still working on that. So.
Yeah, if you made the 2021 setting of My Fair Lady, it's a very different thing.
Mm-hmm.
I hope, maybe. Modern slavery aside.
Right. So, at the end of the day, half the movie is boring. It makes my ears bleed, but I still like most of the songs. So, honestly, those are the points that I have for this. I don't know that I can continue to try and make up things, right? Like that's where I am on this. I could start singing one of the songs.
You could. I'm just not going to ask you to. Don't worry. The songs are hard because the songs keep coming at times.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not entirely sure why. I suspect when I think about this as a musical, and again, this is the thing that when they turn musicals into movies, they turn the musical into a movie. We go to the race course and it's people dressed as and acting as though there's a race course going on in the same way they would on stage. I suspect it's just more people on stage, but I suspect it looks very much like if you've seen the play. Whereas we turn a musical into a movie today, like Les Mis, and it's, we're in the middle of Paris and there's a revolution going on.
Right.
It's not people acting, pretending in their, acre of land on stage, something like that. So I suspect some of the songs, possibly The Father, might be so that they can have set changes in the background, have costume changes in the background.
Mm.
Because you're absolutely right, the costumes are gorgeous.
Yes.
There's a couple of times I'm not totally sure about what she's wearing. I think her racecourse outfit, I'm really not sure of.
Oh, I love that dress.
But in general, what they're all wearing are very beautiful and interesting. And, the colours are vibrant on screen. They present this as a very cinematic experience, making it worthwhile seeing it over seeing it on stage.
I will agree with that. It's a beautiful movie to watch. Gorgeous.
So I don't think we're going to end up agreeing on this.
Probably not, because you enjoy The Father way too much.
Yeah, The Father is... I would hate anyone to take The Father out of this. This film is the perfect length, and I would be disgusted to hear anyone saying it should be shorter and that things like The Father, particularly The Father, should be removed.
Well, I am sorry to disgust you then.
What I think we can do is, as ever, we'll put up a poll on Twitter. We'll ask everyone to tell us what they think, because I think we've got a few people out there who do like this film as well from the same experiences as you. Mm-hmm. So I will be very interested to hear their thoughts on, is the film good or not? Not is it a good film or a bad film? How does it stand up and how can you talk about it these days?
Right.
It's interesting.
Sing the songs with me, guys. Just sing the songs with me.
Wouldn't it be lovely? You can find us on Twitter. We are at Eloquent Gushing. In fact, we are at Eloquent Gushing on most social media sites, so do go and look us up. Mandy, where can people find you? What could they go and follow you on to watch you singing and doing exciting things online?
You can find me on Twitter at Mandy K. And you can also find me, I am trying to do TikTok these days. I'm trying to do more content on TikTok because my ultimate goal is to eventually have us able to podcast on TikTok as well, as have it in the feeds that you guys are listening to. But I have to have 1,000 followers in order to go live on TikTok. So I'm creating content so that people will follow me, and hopefully you guys will follow me on TikTok. I am at MandyKVO. There's not much there yet, but I'm working on it.
Nice. Go and check it out. Awesome.
Yeah. Matthew, where can folks find you in the world?
I'm also on Twitter at Matthew Vose. You can follow the Eloquent Gushing account on Instagram, where you can see us posting pictures about our bakes for the Worth the Calories podcast, which we do about the Great British Bake Off. And we attempt most of the bakes most weekends, so we put up pictures of how they go, and then the podcast comes out over the weekend as well. Obviously, once we've done the baking and done the eating, where we talk about the bakes, the bakers, the who was sent home, who did well, and what we think is coming up in the show. So that's Worth the Calories, and on Instagram at Eloquent Gushing. And it is well worth your time to listen to that show. I'm not even a host on it. I just think it's amazing. So our next episode is going to be a review of the last episodes. So at the end of every show, we do put up a poll. We ask for feedback. We ask for your thoughts on each film, as well as possibly discussing our true feelings, if we haven't revealed our true feelings. I think Matthew has made it very clear he is in love with My Fair Lady. My Fair Lady is my fairest lady. It may even be your favorite
movie?
My favoritist lady. I don't know. So, next episode, we'll be talking about the Unforgiven, Snatch, and My Fair Lady, and Interview with a Vampire, where we will say what we thought of each of those films, and discuss any feedback that we got, any comments on Kirsten Dunst, any comments on Audrey Hepburn, and everything in between. Until then, don't forget that the first rule of Movie Fight Club is to tell all your friends and family about Movie Fight Club.